When I hit the button, you'll see that go red. See it? That means it's getting the collar. Now you're at a really low level, scrub won't feel anything. Okay?
No.
So that was one. So I'm just going to go up one, sometimes two at a time because the dial sort of thing, but I'm trying one at a time. You just tell me when you feel anything. And you're probably a little bit more sensitive on your neck than if it was on your hand.
Oh, I
You
felt that. Yeah.
Okay, so what does it feel like?
It feels exactly like a TENS machine from the physiotherapist. I swear to God, because I've had it done.
See, I can't make that comment because I've never had one.
Yeah.
People tell me, but I don't go there usually because I, be somewhat.
It
like,
doesn't
how do
feel
I
like
know,
well,
right?
it doesn't feel like someone's sticking me with a cattle prod. Let's just put it that way. I'm not
Okay.
getting tased.
So that's what we call momentary, which is just one pulse,
Okay.
right? Now this might have a completely different sensation, but I'm going to hold down what's called the continuous, which just pulse, pulse, pulse until I let go.
Okay.
Okay?
Ooh, I like that.
That's a different reaction.
That feels good.
So you're at an 8.
Okay.
Okay, now this goes from 0 to 100. One of my shepherds works anywhere from about 4 to 6, so
Okay.
he feels it a little bit less. I usually feel it in the teens.
Okay.
I had a lady the other day, it was 32.
Yeah.
So it scales because it depends on the dog, on where they feel it. And what we do is that's what we want to work at. So if you were a dog, I'd say your working level is 8. I just want to get it where you feel it,
Yeah.
so it can be more like a poke. So here's where the misuse usually comes in. Usually people go too high. Well, let me start with, if they buy a store-bought one,
Yeah.
that's sort of problem number one, because what happens is they have a limited number of levels. The sensation is different too, and they have usually like, I don't know, 0 to 10, if you're lucky, maybe 12.
Okay.
And then the difference between each level is a much bigger jump. So if you get a dog that doesn't feel 1, 2 might make it jump out of its socks sort of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? So typically people use them for punishment only,
Yeah.
like stop that. And it works, don't get me wrong, I mean that stuff works. The problem is it usually screws up the dog at the same time, because if the dog doesn't understand the collar, what's going to happen is they get what's called superstitious association. So let's say the dog was near the table over there, and you hit it really high on a collar. The dog went, whoa, was it the table? He goes over here and he's still doing what you don't want him to do. And you say, oh, I'll teach you. You might even turn it up, right? You hit it again. Now he's is it the couch? Like he doesn't know where it's coming from or why. Because he may not know he's doing an undesired behavior, right? So it kind of works, because eventually they clue in, oh, it only happens when I'm barking or whatever. But along that process, you might screw up the dog, or the dog's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So what we do is very low level, and then we teach the dog what it means. And what we want the dog to do is, when I hit this, it's me reaching out to you to say, hey, I want your attention. So I want you to look at me, and then I'll usually ask for something, whether it's a come, a sit, or whatever. So it's more of literally a long distance poke to say, hey, okay. Now when the dog's in a little bit more drive and excited or whatever, then usually the level might have to climb a little bit, just because.
You want him to tone down a bit.
Well, it may be, but if I'm just trying to get his attention, he's usually in a more of excited state, and the 8, let's say, doesn't cut it anymore, he kind of blows it off.
Because of their adrenaline?
Yeah, it could be adrenaline, just excitement, or they're just more willing to blow it off because whatever they're paying attention to is sort of
Much more exciting than,
right?
yeah.
So you might have to go up a little bit, not to the point where the dog goes like, whoa, kind of thing, but it's more like an intense poke. Like, so if I poked you on the shoulder at a party, you're talking to someone, and I go, hey Louise, poke you on the shoulder, and you kind of blow me off, you're having a conversation, right? So I go poke, poke. I just poke, 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 poke. Eventually you're going to turn around and go, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing. I'm just making the poke more intense. And sometimes I don't even have to actually go up in level. So we got that momentary thing. So what I usually do is I do momentary. Dog doesn't respond. I'll usually what I call bump. So I would hit the continuous and let go. So it's bump, bump, bump.
Okay.
Don't pay attention to me. I'll hold down until they pay attention. As soon as they pay attention, I let go. So it's like I'm going to nag you until you respond. And when you respond, the nagging stops.
Okay.
That's basically it.